All right, as you know, and we've talked about this in the past, this is a channel about the Michigan Wolverines. We have stuck to football. I've asked if you wanted to see some basketball in this. I watch every Michigan football game. I watch every Michigan basketball game. Like, I love this team. This isn't our first channel. We have another channel called Sports Talk Detroit where we talk Detroit Lions football. We have another NFL channel. We've talked Pistons on Sports Talk Detroit as well, but we need to get on here and talk a little bit about Michigan basketball after they absolutely cruised to victory over Oakland, a good team, a team that Campy, the coach for Oakland, said is the best team he's ever had. He was very clear about that. Now, they were playing without a couple players. So were we with Michigan, but Greg Campy actually said that this is the best team he's ever had. Remember, this is an Oakland team that just 2 years ago in the NCAA tournament, remember Matt Golke made 10 3-pointers against Kentucky en route to Oakland, defeating the number 3 seeded Kentucky Wildcats. And then their coach went to Arkansas. So anyways, with all that being said, I always get nervous when I see Oakland on the schedule. I know how well coached they are, and I know how good of a team they are. But this Michigan basketball team straight up outclassed them. This might be the single most talented Michigan team I've seen since we had the team that made it to a national championship with Beeline. Right? That Trey Burke, Tim Hardaway, all those guys that were on that team. I think that was, I don't know if Glenn Robinson was on that team. Like, there were so many 4 and 5-star recruits on that team. And then the best player was the 3-star Trey Burke, right? So anyways, we want to talk about this. Mitch McGarry was on that team. We want to talk about what this looks like. I want to give you some injury updates as well, because there were some players that were not playing, but really good news, catching a major break here. All 3 players are going to be just fine. So I'm going to give you an update on that. But before I do that, I just want to go into the game a little bit and talk about what I saw and why I was just so encouraged by this. I think last year we went in and we saw first couple of games and under Dusty May, and I'm just like, wait a minute. This guy's a pretty good coach. And he took a team that was terrible the year before. Let's not sugarcoat it. They were 2 years ago. They were. As Oakland's beaten Kentucky in the NCAA tournament, we're just sitting at home, all right, wondering what's going to be next for our program. And then Dusty May completely turned around this program in 1 year. And he did it while bringing a couple of guys with him, but also doing some stuff in the transfer portal and bringing in a couple of decent recruits. Well, this year, under year 2, nobody hit the portal better. Nobody. Dusty May was the portal king, right? And it already is looking like his recruiting class is going to be significantly more helpful this year than the first year that he was here in Michigan, when he only had a limited amount of time to make it work. So let's go ahead here and let's look at the box score, and let's just see what we were able to do. For starters, and this is what's great, nobody played more than 28 minutes, which, by the way, Trey McKinney, have a day. Have a day, my friend. That is what a freshman should look like. This is what I'm talking about. We didn't have a freshman that could do that. He went 7 of 10 from the field. He had 21 points, 6 of 8 from beyond the long line, as our friend George Blaha would say. He was tremendous. I'll zoom in here a little bit more for you so you can see all this better. Things that I absolutely loved seeing. You have a transfer from Illinois, Morris Johnson. All right, here's the funny thing about Morris Johnson. Dusty May said afterward, he's not in game shape. He had an injury that he said he would have had 3 to 5 more buckets. He was 10 of 12. So you're telling me he would have been 13 of 15, right? 17 of 19? Like, you're telling me he would have done that. The only 2 misses he had on the entire night were 3-pointers. That's it. He played fantastic. Mara, I thought, looked well in limited action. You saw the limitations, but you also saw what he can do. 5 blocks, okay? Roddy Gale was Roddy Gale. He was cool, calm, and collected. Elliot Cadeau, if he plays more minutes, his assist number is ridiculous. A guy who averaged over 6 assists last year got 12, and there were plenty of assists to go around with a team that scored well over 100 points. Burnett looked like his normal sharpshooting self, even more comfortable when he had a bunch of players around him. Yaxel Lendenberg was essentially playing one-handed. He played well. There was nobody that had a horrible game. Nobody. The team overall shot 64% from the field. That is remarkable. They shot 54% from three, even more remarkable, and 92% from the free throw line. I would say this is a fluke, and normally teams don't continue to shoot this good. And they don't. No, they will not continue to shoot 60% from the field. All right, but this is a team that even in their exhibition wins against Cincinnati, against St. John's, good teams, was throwing up close to or right at 100 points. This is not something that's unique. This is a dynamic, explosive, fun offense. And I think what you got to see even better was the Elliot Cadeau effect. The effect of a great point guard leading an offense instead of having to put it in the hands of a power forward or a center to initiate the offense. Look, I love what we were able to do last year. I love what we were able to do with what we had. All right? And that's an NBA player. Wolf's an NBA player now. But the turnovers, the frustration, the things like that, hey, I'm telling you right now, sometimes it's just better to have a point guard. It's just better to have a point guard. Now, it's no knock on Donaldson. I thought he filled in admirably for the 1 year that he was here. But Cadeau is a different animal. He has a different burst. He has a different vision than Donaldson did at point guard last year, and we are going to recognize that. Okay, couple things that are the takeaways from this game and something that I just want to talk about. Program record points in the first half. The previous record was 66. I think they were at 69, 70, 71, something in there. So no Michigan team has ever scored this many points in a half. Another record breaker, first time in 35 years that they scored as many points as they did. This is the highest scoring game for Michigan in 35 years. The last time they scored this many points, yeah, you knew who it was. It was the Fat Five. That's what it was. All right, so real quick before we go, let me give you a couple of injury updates here. Actually, before I do that, let me see if I can get these ads out of here. We'll see if it'll allow it. All right. I could. I absolutely could. But the problem is I can't. All right. They're not going to show the article without it. So we're going to have the ads, and we'll be just fine with that. So injury updates. Here we go. LJ Kayson. All right. This is a guy you absolutely want to have back. There's going to be a little backup point. He'll be back between now and Wake Forest. He said he could have, this is what Dusty May said, could have played tonight. We had him ready for emergency purposes. No emergency needed. Don't worry. No fire extinguisher. He said he could go, and he said he was at 100%. He's been cleared to play, but he hasn't looked great in the last day or two and hasn't played enough. We felt like the 8 days in between now and Wake Forest, he'll get a couple practices under his belt, get his wind back, all right, get his energy level back. We didn't want to risk it. If we didn't have to, is what he said. All right, Winters Grady. This is a sharpshooter. This is a guy that absolutely could be good to go. He was seen in a boot and a minor foot injury, but they're being very cautious with him. And it says he'll be practicing the next couple days. Like we do early in the season, these guys could play if they absolutely had to, but we're more thinking long-term, and we have so much depth that we're not going to put a guy out there at 75 to 80% unless we have to. Now, speaking of 75 to 80%, Yaxel Lendenberg was 50% in his upper half, so I would say 75%. And Dusty goes, he played left-handed yesterday. It was his first day back at practice. I'm missing a few. He played left-handed. I thought he was a borderline all-league player, just one-handed. He's very good. Here's the good news about his hand. It's not structural. So they weren't worried about him hurting it more. I'll be very interested to see if this is an issue that lingers on throughout the season. Like after his dunk, he clearly hurt it. He had a block up against the backboard. Just, man, he shows if this guy can be healthy, this could be the best player in the Big Ten. It could be. And so I'm very, very intrigued to see what this looks like. But as a team in general, if McKinney can shoot the way that he's shooting, and we can continue to space the floor, wow. There are not many holes in this team. The only thing I would say is, what are we doing at backup point guard? That'll kind of solve itself. McKinney, I wouldn't look to him to be the backup, but he played that role a little bit yesterday. So anyways, wanted to show a video here. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next one.